So, so it's interesting because no one's ever heard me sing an up tempo in this place. I don't think ever, because I always sing the nice, sweet song at the end. You know, it's always pretty and very melodic, and yeah. Occasionally, I like to try and sing rock and roll. So I love this song, as you already know, right? It does require water, though. This room is really dry. This room is really dry. So, middle of the night, it's getting so hard to breathe. You ever experienced that? You have to, oh, I'll tell you what, actually. So I wasn't planning on saying this, but so Thursday, I go to bed early because I'm thinking, I've got to get up early for mental muscle, right? I don't know what it was. Something kept me up. Something kept me awake. I was tossing and turning all night long. It's the exact kind of thing. Middle of the night, it's getting so hard to breathe. Can't sleep, can't eat, can't think, can't hardly dream. Of course, if you're trying to eat in bed, you should probably rethink that because, you know, can't sleep, can't eat, can't hardly dream. Then here's the question. Do you fear what the world wants you to be? Do you fear what the world wants you to be? Think about the way that question is phrased. Do you fear what the world wants you to be? You know, I often talk about in this philosophy, looking out there, No, you have to look within. You have to look within. So this is where the song gets to. Do you fear what the world wants you to be? So maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe yes, maybe no. I certainly have had my experience of fear at what I thought the world wanted me to be. What I ultimately recognize is that what the fear was an internal fear about what I thought I should be based on what the world was telling me. And that didn't feel so good. That didn't feel so good, right? So I had to shift that in my own mind, and that's been my spiritual journey. Coming into this philosophy has been part of that. Shifting my mind to a deeper understanding that I don't require that in my experience. I don't. And neither does anybody else sitting in this room. You don't require that in your experience. So, continuing the song, open your eyes and just see what the world is. Open your eyes and see what the world is. What is the world? What is the world? What is it? Is the world the person sitting next to you? Is the world your physical body? Is the world this wall? Remember I talked about the wall last week? About the wall having the same basic things going on that make up who we are. It's just in a different configuration. So we talk about life and the idea that we consider ourselves living beings, but why can't the wall be a living thing if it's made up of the very same particles? Ultimately, if you break it down deeply enough, the wall is a living thing because God is life. The expression of God is life. We say there is nothing but God. In the declaration, right at the beginning, what do we say? We say, I believe that the spiritual and material universe are one. I believe that whether I call it God, spirit, energy, or universal consciousness, every person, place, and thing emanates from this one creative source. There is nothing that exists that is not the energy of God. And God is constantly creating of itself. So open your eyes and see what the world is. Open your mind and you're free. Open your mind and you're free. We talk about mind a lot in this philosophy because it is the science of mind. The science of mind. There's more in this world than we see. There's more in this world than we see. So he's getting to everything that you're experiencing, everything that you see, everything that you can touch, it's all illusion. It's all illusion. The idea that nothing actually exists except to the degree that we are consciously aware of its existence, and by means of our very presence in this place, we have created the existence of all things. This is a very deep concept, right? Because I could stand here and say, my very presence standing on this platform, I have created each and every one of you. I have created each and every one of you because you're all in my experience. You are all in my experience. And at the same time, you have created each and every other person in this room because we are all in your experience. You've created your expression in this time and in this place and in this incarnation that we talk about as being human beings. So, I'm going to go back to that lyric. Do you fear what the world wants you to be? Because he answers that in the chorus. If all of the things that you thought you would be pass you by, you'll find what you need in your life. You will find what you need in your life. So it's a very Science of Mind song. I'll talk a little bit more about the song later. But I do want to talk about the science of mind. So today's talk is called 10 Pages and 3 Words. Now, for the past couple weeks, I've talked about the book, right? The book, The Science of Mind, a philosophy, a faith, a way of life, and that all you really need to know, the entire teaching, is in the first 25 pages of the book. And it's not even a part of the book, the proper book. It's the introduction to the rest of the book. But that's the whole philosophy right there. That's it. So today, the 10 pages I'm going to talk about are the first 10 pages. And the section is called The Thing Itself. So there are your 3 words. The thing itself. The thing itself. He spends these 10 pages explaining that the thing itself is God. The thing itself is God. And you know me, I have no problem saying the word God. And a lot of people do. And I get that. And I honor where you are on this journey. But understand that when I say God, I don't mean some great big thing outside of myself. I am saying it's the divine energy which has created each and every one of us. That is what God is to me. So, then I write the question, so why the science of mind? You know, the science of mind, a philosophy, a faith, a way of life. But we call it the science of mind, right? So science and religion don't seem to go hand in hand. At least that's what we would all be taught to believe, right? That science and religion are at odds with each other. They have different ideas. You know, you hear about it a lot in the States right now, especially when there are state legislatures that are changing the educational curriculum by saying that schools can teach creationism. This is happening in the States. Now, whether or not there's creationism, whether or not there was Adam and Eve, I don't know. It's a great, great story, though, with a deeper meaning. So I accept the metaphorical approach to the Bible from a metaphysical standpoint and say that there is something to be learned from that. So the creationism story, if I were to teach it, would be from that point of view. However, these are state legislatures that are looking to say this is how the world was actually created. That doesn't work for me. Ernest Holmes writes, "We all look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible." And I think, see, I wrote so many quotes down today, I don't remember it, but I think that's the very first line of the introduction. We all look forward to the day, yes, when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. So science, what is science? I looked it up because you know me, I love words, I love the dictionary. And I know there are some scientists here today that are probably going to be very interested in what I have to say. Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. That was a mouthful, right? The intellectual and practical activity, so it's something that we are doing, right? Encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior. So the activity is, we're studying something. We're studying the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world. We're studying the physical and natural world, watching its behavior through observation and experiment. So we can create experiments, right? We can test things out. And that's what science is doing. It's testing things out and observing things and saying, this is what I see. I see the physical, natural world around me, and this is now how I'm going to approach my definition of what is. That's what science is doing. So, science is an activity. The physical, you can do things, testing in labs, and intellectual, aha. It's an intellectual activity. So there's the mind part of it. For me, that we can think about things and we can observe things and we can come up with ideas. But where did those ideas come from? I mean, I can see Helen sitting there. My observation of Helen, sitting there, looking as stunning as she always does. But my understanding of who she is comes from something that I would say is beyond me. I observe her, but the intellect is tapping into something so that I can make determinations about who she is. What is that something that the intellect is tapping into? So this is why we say it's the science of mind, right? You know, and when we look at science, we look at what we think are truths. Science is studying things so that it can come up with what the truths of our experience are, what the truths of our world are. The truth is, science is only looking at relative facts. It's looking at things and saying, these are things that can be counted, these are things that can be observed, and it's only fact, and the fact remains a fact until it's disproven. So last week we had a screening of the movie I Am. And one of the things that he does in that movie, Tom Shadyac, the gentleman who made that film, he talks about some of the scientific facts that used to be in play, like the world is flat. That was a scientific fact for centuries until it was disproven. There was also a scientific fact that everything in the universe revolved around the earth. That was scientific fact until it was disproven. And then there was an interesting one that because I looked up, me and the internet, I love the internet. I never knew this. So until the late 18th century, it was scientific fact that the state of California was an island. I would say Hollywood is an island. But that was not disproven until the late 18th century. Now, the truth is, at some point, because of plate tectonics, California will be an island. There was also a belief that atoms were the smallest thing and were indivisible. You could not divide an atom. And that has been disproven now. You have subatomic particles, you have protons, electrons, neutrons, and even smaller things than that. If you get into quantum theory, you've got quarks, right? And as you break it down more and more, the more you find there are smaller and smaller particles. And I think we're going to go well beyond quarks, and I'm not a particle physicist, so that's about as deep into that as I'm going to get. But then there's this other thing in the universe, and I love this because when scientists don't know, sometimes I think they make it up. And yes, I am looking at you. So you've got the Big Bang Theory, right? about the nature of how the universe was created. And I want to point out something too. It's not the Big Bang truth. It's not the Big Bang fact. It's the Big Bang theory. So the universe expands from this one point. And now what they're saying is that it is ever expanding. It's never going to contract. This is the current thinking, because I love to watch things on the History Channel about the nature of the universe. So I listen to these guys. So it's constantly expanding. Everything is moving away. And yet there's this problem that they've been faced with now, that the relative matter of the universe could not possibly be okay, I'm going to stop here for a minute, because I'm getting so excited, I'm tripping over my own words. So the matter that we can see in the universe is not nearly enough matter to comprise the mass of the universe. Oh, you're a scientist too, right? Yeah, I should be looking at you too. So what do these theorists come up with? These physicists and astronomers? They come up with this thing that they now call dark matter. Dark matter is estimated to constitute 83% of the mass of the universe. 83%. However, they can't prove that it actually exists. But they're saying there's got to be something. There must be something, right? 83% of the mass of the universe is now said to be dark matter, and they cannot say, you can't look at it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it. You cannot observe it.
So how do they know it's there?
That's my question. Basically, they're basing it on, and I can tell you, they're basing it on the laws, the Newtonian laws of physics, right? So there's gravity, and they're saying that gravity can't work properly without this thing called dark matter. We'll talk sometime, because that's going to get me off onto a tangent, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent like I do in class, because then we will be here for 4 hours. So these are all scientific things that are now talked about, and they're saying, so they're saying dark matter must be a thing, so we're going to move forward with the idea that dark matter is a thing. But it's still a theory, just like the Big Bang is still a theory. Now, these things are plausible, I suppose, based on the evidence. Most physicists would say, yes, this is what makes sense. And the point is that what we call truth in science may be disprovable, ultimately. Why? Because some science, and here's the catch, still relies on faith in the invisible. Some science still relies on faith in the invisible. There are things that have not been proven scientifically. And so, if we're going to observe our experience and say that the study of our world, of our relative world, is a scientific study, well, what about those things that have not been proven and cannot, so far as we know, be proven? So, I do want to be clear. I do believe in the scientific method. All that the scientific method finds, however, are commonalities. They're finding demonstrations of sameness. They're finding where things are the same. But what's behind all of this creation? What is behind everything that is created? And that's where we get into the science of mind, for me. So there must be something. There must be something. There must be something in this experience of ours that animates us. And so what we call it in the mental muscle program is life force. That there's a living principle that creates life. And so we approach the science of mind philosophy based on some premises. The main premise in the science of mind is that there is some activating factor beyond the physical. There is an activating factor beyond the physical, And that is actually where the term metaphysical is derived from. Metaphysical means beyond the physical. So when we talk about a metaphysical philosophy, that's what we're talking about. It's beyond the physical. Now, the only way that we can observe and prove that this thing, the science of mind, works is to experiment. So how many of you are experimenting on a daily basis with this thing called the science of mind? I love that hands go up. How many? And if you're not, why are you here? Are you here just to feel good? Because I hope I make you feel good. I could sing again. So every single day for me is an opportunity to delve further and deeper into this thing and try and prove that it actually works. Now, I have proven, I think, that it actually works. And the ability to prove it is why we call it a science. Is life force provable? Really? What is the animating thing behind each and every one of us, behind our experience? Is it provable? So far, no. But quantum physicists, I think, are getting closer all the time. It's provable to me in the fact that we exist, that we are alive. We are living, breathing things. We are created and creative. Think about gravity. Does gravity exist? How do you know? That was the positive response. How do you know that gravity exists?
Because I haven't fallen off the planet.
Are you sure? You know, we experience gravity just like we experience life, but there's no proof that either thing really exists. And scientists are looking for the graviton particle, right? This force thing that holds and binds the universe together through this thing that we call gravity. Have they found the graviton particle? No, they have not, but we experience gravity. We take it for granted even. Just like we sometimes take life for granted. We don't think about it, but the principle works. So science, like religion, still deals to some degree in intangibles. And we are only afforded the opportunity in this incarnation to observe the effects. But this philosophy deals in cause. We talk about the law of cause and effect within this philosophy. That's one of the two things we teach. We teach God is all there is, and that we are that which is, the divinity of man. And we teach that the basic operating structure of our experience is the law of cause and effect. For everything that exists, there was a cause to create it. And this philosophy deals in cause. And what I'm always talking about is if you want to change the effects in your life, you must change the cause in your life. Again, I go to, so the people who are new, I put cause up here, right? Because we have this teaching tool, if you ever come to class, where cause is in the top portion of the circle, and then you talk about the effects in the bottom portion of the circle. It gets very, very deep. About as deep as a circle. So we deal in cause, but what does that mean, cause? What does that mean? Cause is an intangible thing. But there is cause because there is effect. And then I love this because it's quoted in the Mental Muscle book. Kid, I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other, and I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but I've never seen anything to make me believe that there's one all-powerful force controlling everything. You know exactly where that's from. I actually mentioned it last week, one of the best metaphysical trilogies ever, the Star Wars trilogy. There's so much metaphysical truth in those films, it's brilliant. But that's Han Solo, speaking to Luke Skywalker in the first film that was filmed, which is the fourth one in the overall story. Anyway. So we approach this entire philosophy with the conviction that there is something beyond the self. This is faith. And I've talked at length about faith from up here. And this is what he's getting at in the first 10 pages of the Science of Mind textbook, which is another thing I'm going to mention. So all through ministerial school, I was told, don't call it the textbook. Don't refer to it as the textbook. And then I'm reading the first 10 pages over again, and right in the first 10 pages, he calls it a textbook. So, James Mellon, I am calling it a textbook from now on. Yes, I did. Yeah, I came across it, I'm like, really? Ernest Holmes writes, in the first 10 pages, at some point in those, he says, the study of the science of mind is the study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation. I'm going to read it again. The study of the science of mind is the study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation. The great thing about the science of mind is that this is the premise on which the other 600 some odd pages of the book are based, where the thing itself, God, mind, spirit, divine energy, whatever you want to call it, love. Love is a great synonym for God. These things are not taken for granted. It's the premise of the entire philosophy, that these things are fact in our experience, and we can demonstrate based on this. We can create the lives we want based on this. Ernest Holmes encourages us to use it and move forward with this premise, this idea that love, God, whatever, this is all there is. And he encourages us to prove it every single day. So again, I will ask you, how many of you are proving this every single day? Yeah? I can tell you the truth, you're all proving it every single day, whether you're aware of it or not. Because you make choices, you make decisions. Those things are cause to the effects that happen in your life. So when you study this philosophy, when you learn this philosophy, you learn to make better decisions. That's all we're ever trying to do. It's why I always say, if you're new to this philosophy, the first book you should read is The Power of Decision. Don't try, really, don't try and read this in one sitting, because it will confuse you. But The Power of Decision is a very clear, concise book that teaches you how this philosophy works and how to put it into practice in your life. So I go back to the song. Do you fear what the world wants you to be? Open your eyes and just see what the world is. Open your mind and you're free. So what is mind? This is another question that's come up quite a bit, right? You're going to love this answer, because I actually found the question, what is mind, in the book, right? This is what Ernest Holmes writes. You ready for the big answer to what is mind? Ernest Holmes writes, no living man knows.
How about women?
How about a dead man? Or dead woman, I don't know. One thing I will reiterate is mind is not the brain. The mind is not the brain. And if you follow, and I talked about this in class last Wednesday, if you follow the premise of I am, one of the things that comes up in that film is that the mind is probably more associated with the heart, the energy of the heart, which has a larger electromagnetic field than any other part of our body. And if you really get in touch with the feeling within your heart, you can change your experience based on what is intuitively happening through you, not intellectually happening through you. So I read an article. So I have this great thing on my iPad that I downloaded recently, and I had never really known about it before, but it's called Flipbook. And you can like sign up for all of these like different things, and it taps into the internet and says, oh, this is an article you might be interested in, right? And you can put your Facebook in there and your Twitter account and your Instagram account, all kinds of things. So there was this article that popped up about near-death experience, which is so in line with what I'm talking about today, right? Because they're saying that they are finding that people who are having out-of-body and near-death experiences are able to recall things that they could not possibly have known about because their physical body was not conscious in the room. So how does that happen? So for me, that's a proof that there is a life force behind everything. Yeah, the only rational idea that I can think of is that there is a field of mind. That's all there is, and we're all tapped into it, we're all expressing as this field of mind. So, I also will say that in science, because this is another thing that comes up in science, I will also say that I accept that as you are an observer, what you are observing is changed by being the observer. That's also a very deep concept, right? What I observe is colored by my observation of it. How can it not be? If there is only one field, this field is mind, what I see, what I experience is colored and affected by my being a cause to what's happening around me. I cannot observe objectively. Nobody can. Nobody can truly observe objectively. Because here's what happens. You observe something, this is new cause that's going into a subjective field, and now everything is expressing based on that idea. So everything that you observe is affected by your observation of it. But that's neither here nor there, because here's what I do know. Whether I observe it or not, I know that I am a creative force and I am a creative power in this world. And so are each and every one of you. I've proven it. I have proven that I am a creative force in this world. You know how? Number one reason, I exist. I am here. And so are each and every one of you. So you have all proven this as well. You are creative beings. You are creative individualizations of the divine source. I've also proven it because other people have come to me as a minister and as a licensed practitioner, as somebody who stands up here and says, I can help you. People have come to me for help. They have communicated to me that they need help in some certain area, and I do prayer. I do treatment because I know that there is a field of mind that's all that exists, and so if I change the field of mind, the relative world changes. And these people have come back to me after prayer and said, it worked. My prayers were answered. Your treatment worked. So that is how I have proven that I create. It's funny, I wrote here, because I'm going to do another Ernest Holmes quote, but just because you said this earlier, I wrote paraphrased to be gender neutral. Because here's the crux of this entire teaching. By thinking, we can bring into experience whatsoever we desire. If we think correctly and become the living embodiment of our thoughts. The truth is, you are a living embodiment of your thoughts. What are you going to do with that? Are you going to allow your thoughts to run willy-nilly? unchecked to create the things that are not so constructive in your life? Or are you going to be the one who proves this science beyond a shadow of a doubt and create constructively, use your thoughts constructively? So if we are living the science of mind, we are proving the science of mind. When we learn to trust the universe, we shall be prosperous, happy, and well. When we learn to trust the universe. The song, I spent a lifetime hoping it would come to me. And getting lost in the lies I believed. We're covered by a mask that we think is our sin. We never realize that the truth is within. Just open your eyes and you'll see what the world is. Open your mind and you're free. So those are the first 10 pages of the Science of Mind. The introduction setting the premise for the rest of the book. Within that, a final quote. And what I'd like you to do is close your eyes and just listen to this. Ernest Holmes writes, God is always God. Sound familiar? No matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation may be, there is always something hidden in that inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice, forever whispering within our ear. That thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. This is the very basis of who and what we are. So this talk, 10 pages and 3 words, the 3 words that I intended to start with are the thing itself, because that's what I wanted to talk about today, the thing itself. But the 3 words that I come to, as I do every single week, whenever I look at you, you are God. You are God. You are God. And by that, I know that I am God. I am God. We are God. We are God. We are God. And that, to me, is a truth. I thank you. I love you. I give great honor to you. And namaste.